So please let me know if you can or can't hear me. Okay, let's get going. So 12 factors that for B2B success. The first thing I want to look at today is, why won't this work? There we go. I want to look at kind of some background stuff and go through it. This business model I'm using, and I'll show you today, like every other business model in the world, is not easy at first. Okay, it takes some time to learn, and this isn't a quick, rich, get rich quick scheme at all. You probably won't hit a home run on the first try going through this, and I'm really going to, and as I like to say, you better not anyway, because I never have, and I'd be totally jealous if you ever do hit a home run on it, but hopefully I know you'll get some great success as we go through this. You have to understand that all business entails risk, and I'm sure you do. You're in business, and you understand that. You'll have to work hard to get the same results I did. I worked very hard, and this is after 35 plus years of being in sales and marketing, and so you have to understand that there's hard work involved in this, but as I like to say, it's worth it. So that's just some background on what we're doing here. And how this webinar is different. First, I'm obviously going to make an offer at the end of the webinar, and it's expensive and involves working very closely with me and having a lot of interaction with me because it's a coaching I'm going to tell you. And most sales webinars, which is what almost every webinar is, are story-based with just enough content to get people interested. Well, this isn't, I'm not going to tell you any stories. I'm going to give you 100% how-to, and particularly in one area, and everything I do here will be how to do something as opposed to not just what to do or story-based. I'm going to show you how to do some stuff on your own and then offer to help you with it if you want some help. If you don't, then you're going to get enough meat and potatoes in this and enough how-to in this webinar that you can do some stuff on your own. First, let's look at, excuse me, who this webinar is for. It's for people who sell to other businesses and want to get better results, okay? People who fully realize there's no such thing as success without work. So if you think there is success without work, then I guess the only thing you can do is keep buying lottery tickets, and every once in a while somebody wins. But as you know, in almost every case, there's no success without work. And people are committed to helping their marketplace as much as possible and the people within that marketplace. And people are willing to set goals, create a plan, and stick with it. So that's who this is for. Let me show you who it's not for. It's people who don't want to work. As I said, people who think there is a chance of winning a lottery. I think we all buy lottery tickets once in a while for fun, but we don't expect to win. People who want to get rich quick scheme, as I mentioned, it really isn't for that. It's this is for people who understand that there is work behind building a business. People who don't like working with others. You must be able to and like interacting with others. Otherwise, this isn't it. If you just want to spend all your time on the computer and not really actually talk with people. People who aren't willing to invest in marketing. Okay, there's an investment in marketing. It's like anything. If you don't invest in something, you're not going to get results. As I mentioned, the lottery, even if you buy a lottery, you got to buy a lottery ticket to win. And people are excited about the next big thing as opposed to working. Okay, so it's not for any of those people, and I doubt if any of you are there, but I thought I would run through that anyway. So let's look at our main objective here, which is total transformation of your business into a system that will help you grow, help your business grow. What you want to do is, and what I want to do is help you deliver outstanding results for your clients. By the way, I talk about the word client here versus the word customer. A client is someone who's under your wing and you're helping them along. A customer is just somebody you sell something to. Like if you run a hardware store and you sell them a screwdriver or something, you may never see them again. But a client is, especially in a B2B, and is someone who's under your wing and under your protection, and you're helping them grow. So that's the difference. So that's why I use the word client all the time. And I want to make sure that you get paid what you're worth. A lot of people end up not getting paid what they're worth. In fact, very few people get paid what they're worth. And So I want to make sure you're doing that and you're setting prices. So this is a total transformation. We're going to keep it as simple as possible, as easy as possible. And we want to have fun. So you got to have fun when you're working. Otherwise, it's awful. You can't work with people you don't like, you don't get along with, and you can't have fun if you're not doing it. And that's really what. So that's our total transformation, our main objective, what we're doing here. So what do you want to do? Well, what I'd like you to do is just take a minute and write down the first thing that attracted you to your current business, and maybe you could send that to me. Just take a minute and write down the first thing that attracted you to your current business. So it says, what are you looking for? Okay. Well, let's just leave it at that for now. You've got it in front of you, and let's look at, is that your real goal? Well, let's have a look here. The only way to stop the cycle, that is the cycle that you get on and you can't get off it, and it's like a stationary bike. You know, you keep going, you pedal, 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 but you're not going anywhere. So the only way to stop that cycle is identify what the true end goal is. We know that freedom gets old and boring. People say, what's your true end goal? Well, I want freedom. Well, what does that mean? I mean, it's pretty broad and old, and well, it's not old and boring in certain parts of the world, obviously, but you know, in the Western world, I mean that in not a derogatory sense, but in the sense that everybody says that. We know that stuff is cool. Like, if you take a program and they give you a binder or they give you a download, all kinds of stuff, but it's ultimately unfulfilling, and most of the time you don't end up finishing it. We know that running a business can be a total pain, and just like having a job, except you don't get to take time off because survival of the business depends on you. If you do own your own business, or even if you run a major department in your business, you know, you don't have a lot of flexibility in when you can take time off, and maybe if you work for somebody, they tell you how many hours or how many weeks a year you can take time off. I know in North America it starts off at 2 and usually doesn't go more than 4. So if you run a business, it can be, but it can be very fulfilling too. And if you are running a business, don't get me wrong, I've been running businesses since 1980, and I love doing it. But you want to have some freedom as to what you can do. So what we really want is stress-free abundance. And what does stress-free mean? Now, by the way, I'm getting into this. I'm going to get into the meat of it anyway. But I want to get into showing you, why do we work and everything? People who have enough money don't work. They do what they want. Now, some people might consider it work, but what they're doing is they have stress-free abundance, which means doing what they want when we want to do it most of the time. We still got to do other things like file taxes and things that we don't necessarily want to do, but most of the time, stress-free, that's what it means. Stress-free means having certainty that your income goals will be met predictably and consistently. Right? If you're not meeting your income goals, and depending where you're from, I know here in Canada, something like 47 or 48% of people are paycheck to paycheck. And if one of them and a couple lose their job or they lose their job, then that's not stress-free. Abundance means designing a lifestyle that is perfect for you and your family, so you've got enough. In summary, to live a good life, have nice things, and do not have to do stuff that sucks, right? So that's a term that my kids taught me long, long time ago. Dad, that sucks. And so I use it every once in a while, though it's not my most favorite phrase, but I think everybody understands it. So that's stress-free abundance, and that's really our real goal no matter what we do. So how do you get there? Well, your blueprint for stress-free abundance will probably change with time. We all change, I mean, we get older. My kids tell me I'm old, and because I had them a little bit later. But, we all change with our bodies change. How we live changes. We buy a house, we sell a house, we have kids, we work, maybe we retire. So everything changes. So what stress-free abundance, that'll change too. You want to have enough income to, as I mentioned, to live the life your way. You want this blueprint to include the best methods to grow your business and your lifestyle. And you want a system that enables you to do all of this and make it all happen. And that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to show you a system in B2B marketing and sales building a B2B business that will take a lot of stress away, that works and works and works. Okay, the system that works. I mentioned today, I'm going to show you a system that works, but it takes work, okay? It works, but you got to work at it. I'm going to give you IRA. Now, IRA means results in action. So you can walk away with a real method, results in advance. You're going to walk away with results in advance. I'm going to give you, not just tell you what to do today, I'm going to show you how to do it. Specifically, one specific thing that will help turn your business around. You can walk away with a real method to get to the executive suite. If that's what you want to do, then this will help you do that. We're going to cover the 12 factors that you must know and do to get real results for any B2B marketing sales campaign, okay? And that's what it's called, 12 B2B success factors. So if you had a chance to watch video 1, there are 3 factors that I mentioned there. Who's your ideal client? We'll talk about that today. What issues do they face? And that's what I'm really going to dig into. I'm going to show you a way that that transcends anything you've probably done before. And what is your value proposition that helps them overcome these issues, okay? And a lot of people don't have a value proposition. You really need a unique value proposition. I'm going to show you how to do that to a certain extent today. So what I want to do today, particularly give you results in advance, is solving problems to deliver results. So let's look at the thing of why do we solve problems? Well, because it leads to the best way to reach the top decision makers and influences if you're solving the right problems, and the best way to beat out your competition. You've all got competition. I do, you do, everybody has competition, and so you want to get to the top people in your client organizations. And that all leads to more account control, more control. When I say an account, I mean, your clients, and an awful lot more business and more income, which is really what we want to do so that we can lead the lifestyle we like. Okay, so that's what it leads to. So how do we solve problems? The first thing I want you to understand is, and this is from Stephen Covey, this isn't something I have, is to understand before being understood. So you must know what's going on. You must know the issues. You must know the goals, which a lot of people don't do. They don't ask for the goals of their clients. And I've always found that this has been a great way to start off, as opposed to, what keeps you up at night. The best question is, what do you want to achieve this year? What are your goals? And then from there, you get into a better conversation. People like talking about what they want to do. So understand before being understood. How do we solve? We need to understand what issues and problems your prospects and customers have and their goals. How do you do this? Well, you ask them, obviously. You ask internally from other people, what other problems what problems do our products and services solve? What have you found from your clients and from research? And I'm going to show you how the research, particularly when you want to look at the industry research. You need an understanding of the benefits your products and services offer. You want to sell the sizzle and not the steak. Remember, people really want to buy a steak for how it smells and tastes and looks. If you didn't call it a steak, you call it something now, but they want the sizzle. What does it make? And I also like the idea of a drill. You don't go out to buy a drill. What you really want is holes. You want something that makes holes so you can hang a picture. Maybe you're putting up a new wall or something. So you want something that makes holes. You don't really want to drill. So that's how you solve problems. You need to understand the issues and problems from your industry and from your client point of view. And that's what I'm going to get into in a little bit here. I'm going to show you, and that's what we want to talk about. You need to understand the issues from both your industry and your client. Understand industry and how this affects issues. Can you imagine in 2008 trying to talk to an auto dealership if you didn't know what was going on in the auto industry? And they were cutting out dealerships, particularly in North America. I think they cut their dealerships by half or more. So if you didn't understand what was going on in the industry, you'd have a heck of a time trying to sell it to an auto dealership. I think you'd all agree with that. So it's imperative that you know what's going on in the industry, and I'll show you how to do that in a sec. You need to understand your client issues. Obviously, we talked about that, but you also need to understand their goals, and you can do that usually by asking, but there are other ways. And you need to let your client know you understand what their issues and goals are. And that's what I'm going to show you today, is how you can do that. And then you need to be understood, okay? Understand before being understood. That's a great saying that Covey had, and it's so true, not just in business, but in life. If you have kids, you want to understand what their problems are before you, before you tell them what you need. Because sometimes we don't know their issues, okay? If they're screaming, it's probably for a reason. So what I want to talk about here is solving issues, which is called issue articulation and decomposition. And it's something that I've never seen anybody else do. I worked with it with a partner for a number of years ago. We developed this, and it really works, So let's go through it. It's integration of points of view and client relationship management. It's got to do with client relationship management, but I'm not going to get into the relationship side of it today, although everything you do to help a client builds that relationship. If you look at the far left of your screen, you'll see industry point of view. So you need to understand, if you're dealing with auto dealerships, what the industry is. If you're dealing with with banks, you need to know what's going on in the banking industry. If you're dealing with manufacturers, what's going on within that industry, not necessarily just manufacturing as a whole, but within that industry, etc. So if you're dealing with governments, what's happening within that government locally, as far as, are they cutting back, are they expanding? Like right now, most governments are cutting back, as an example, because they're all in debt, particularly in Europe, but happening in North America too. What's the industry landscape? What's the industry outlook? What's the industry point of view? What are people saying within the industry about what's going on within that industry? That's what the point of view means. So you got to understand that. That comes from research and by asking. And then you do company issue articulation and decomposition. You can see the client point of view there, very similar. Client landscape, client competitive map, client point of view. And although I'm not going to go through all of that today, you can see that leads to relationship management and then opportunity management. I'm going to show you what's important. So you need to understand the industry, not just your client. So what is issue articulation and decomposition? Well, as I mentioned, you got to look at the industry point of view, what's going on, what are the trends and implications, and then from a point of view of the company, what are the key issue categories specific to that account? What are the goals in that account? What are their, if they're manufacturing, what category are they in? Are they an aerospace company? Do they make auto parts? Are they a bicycle man? What do they do? What are their categories? So articulate and decompose issues. So you want to look at a goal or an issue, the relevant sub-issues, sub-goals, interconnections between them, what resources are needed, further data collection, solution components, and then you contact the client and ask them. And I'm going to show you what happens on that. Client-specific issues are articulated and decomposed before moving to solution, long before, to provide the basis for meaningful conversations with the client, something of value you can bring to the client. So here's how it works. You ask what an issue is or what their main goal is. I'm going to show you one which is an issue, but sometimes it's a goal. Like the goal of most public companies is to increase shareholder value. How can you do that with your particular business? Well, I'm going to show you how you can do that. How do we decompose issues, and then how do we decompose issues to solutions that we have? So there's the kind of 3 steps, although when you decompose them, it may be more than, it's probably 2, 3, 4 steps. So issue articulation is this. You identify and clarify the key issues, what really matters to the client, what goal, what issue is really key. And you should know that before you go in. You can't go in and ask a CEO in these days, what keeps you up at night? Because they're not interested in what keeps me up at night. You got to know that before you get in there, based on what your industry is doing and then from researching their clients. So you got to do that research. Articulation of issues is driven by industry. Again, your industry is important, and company-specific analysis, okay? So you articulate what it is, and then you decompose those. Break each key issue down in a structured, logical way. I'm going to show you an example of all of this in a sec. Underlying issues and the relationships between them. And the validation mission occurs through dialogue with the client. So you do all this beforehand, then you go to the client and say, my product can show you how to build shareholder value. That is one of your goals. I'd like to spend some time with you to make sure I understand it and show you how we can help you do that. So this leads to the development of comprehensive solution sets, as we talked about. Once the link is decomposed, you decompose the issues with specific solutions across your service categories to each of the sub-issues. The integration of your individual solution addresses the breadth and depth of client issues, okay? So let's look at this is a real-life example that we did with a client a few years ago. But the client was selling hardware, computer hardware to businesses. And you know what's happened to computer hardware. There's no profit margin in it anymore. So nobody really cares about, you sell it, but they didn't want to lose that client base, and they kept doing it. But what they want to do is get into managed services. So how do we grow managed services? Well, still maintaining the hardware, the computer hardware business is what the question they asked. So we decompose that into two other major sub-issues. What's the right corporate structure to move us forward? We asked them. And how do we leverage opportunities from existing business into building the managed services business, okay? So from the dark blue up top, you'll see that we decompose the right corporate structure into how. Now this is when, now keep in mind that, we help people with their sales and marketing. We help them increase their revenue through better sales and marketing strategies and techniques. So that's what we're moving towards here. And you've got to move towards whatever your product does. But these are sub-issues that this client had. How do we identify the right people for the right jobs? What facilities do we need? What financing we need to grow? And then from the bottom one, what's our strategy for motivating staff? And how do we avoid diluting our image with hardware customers while building our managed services business? Excuse me, I just want to have a drink of water here. Not used to talking this much. So let's look at how I decompose from how do we grow managed services to leverage opportunities and our strategy for motivating staff, because we need to have our staff motivated to sell these new services. Well, what's the right sales structure to move us forward was one question. What skills and processes do the salespeople need to be successful, and what incentives do we need in place to grow both businesses? So the right sales structure, is it direct or indirect sales? Do we hire top talent, or do we train who we've got? Do we have dedicated account teams? So these are all questions that need to be answered, and the service that we had answers all of those. What skills and processes? Is it value selling? Is it solution selling? How do we do it? Strategic account management would be part of it, and relationship management. So all of these factors are in there, and that was something we could do. And what incentives do we need in place to grow both businesses? What's the compensation structure? What are the corporate objectives, and do they match the incentives in the corporate structure? So you can see what we've done there. We decomposed the major issue. How do we grow managed services while still maintaining? This is a major issue this company had. They were going from hardware into managed services. And we've broken it down right to what we do to help. As you see, you go back through the tree to help those, show them how we can help them grow their managed services business. You can do this with any issue, any major goal, and it's dynamite within the executive suite because nobody else does this. Nobody does. They go in and say, "What's your issue?" "Oh, we can solve it by doing this." This shows you this shows the executive exactly how you're going to do it, and it shows that you're thinking about their business, not about what you're doing. But you're obviously what you're doing. They know that you're going to try and sell them something. But it shows that you're thinking about their business. Okay. So what I'd like you to do, not right now, hopefully, I'd like you to finish listening to the webinar, but what I'd like you to do is build and decompose a major issue, your key account faces, describe your uniqueness, and how you will penetrate that account, okay? So that's what I want you to do. If you want some of these slides, then just email me after and I'll send them to you. But this is how you do issue decomposition and goal decomposition, because we got to talk about goals, although goals are issues, really. I have a goal I want to reach, and I have issues, obviously, I've got to overcome to reach that goal. So, but understand their goal first, too. Okay? So, that's one of the factors for B2B success. I want to run through now what the 12 factors are. As I mentioned, I want to give you results in advance here. I'm not just telling you stories here. I want to tell you what you need to do, what the 12 factors are for a B2B business success. Okay. Let's look at them. 12 foolproof methods for generating new leads for B2B success. First of all, You must define your ideal client. I talked to somebody the other day, and I said, who's your ideal client? Anybody can use our service. I said, yeah, but you've got a relatively new service. You've got to focus first. You've got to focus on who your ideal client is. And you need to write down who they are. You need to, it's a group of prospective customers or clients because they share common characteristics, are especially receptive to your products and or services. You need to know their demographics. You need to know their psychographics. You need to know their strategic imperatives. You need to know challenges, issues, and problems that they face. And, of course, that's what you get into the second one. What are the issues they face, okay? What are their goals? What are their issues and goals? That's important. What's their unique value proposition? What is your unique value proposition that you bring to the marketplace and to each client? And developing a core marketing message, you need to have that. As an example, you want to describe tangible, measurable business outcomes that the client will receive. As an example, you increase revenues and profitability. You allow them with your products and service have faster time to market. You allow them with your products and service to decrease costs. So all of those things, and you need to have numbers in there. You decrease costs by 30% or 8% or whatever the number is based on what you do. Or you increase revenue. As an example, I worked with a client a couple of years ago and increased their client base by threefold over what they had in a relatively short period of time. So that's a value proposition, right? I help you increase your client base by 3 times, triple it. The 4 influencers in a B2B sale. This is true anywhere, but even in a B2C sale, but they're all in one person. You know, the economic influencer. Who's the person that signs the checks? The user of your products or services. You know, who do you deal with on a day-to-day basis? The gatekeepers, people such as HR or maybe even IT. IT might be your users too, so they might be a bit of both. It might be the legal. It might be finance. Who are the gatekeepers? Sometimes the secretary that you deal with is a gatekeeper, and so different ways. And the real key, if you can do this, is find a champion to help you carry your particular sale through to the end, and it has you in mind. So you have to understand each of those 4 influencers because they all influence whether you're going to be successful in your sale. What are the 5 factors for B2B buying? Why do people buy in the B2B marketplace? And there's 5 factors, and most people miss the 5th, although most people don't understand most of them. Improved performance. Okay, that's where we get about increased revenue, decreased costs. Increased opportunities. Does your product or service give your client an increased opportunity? Does it give them a competitive advantage over their people based on maybe you sell them a machine or a piece of software, or you know how to show them how to increase revenue, like I'm doing here, to give you a competitive advantage. What I'm showing you is a competitive advantage. Risk mitigation. As an example, I worked with a security firm once, and to help them with their revenue growth. And one of the things they did was they had banks as clients, and they would go into a client, and they would, get all the passwords in, or they wouldn't get passwords. Sorry, they would break into the security and firewall of a client. And one day, after they were working with a bank in the States, they called up the chairman of the bank around 8 o'clock at night and said, "Sir, we need to see you at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning." And the guy says, "Why?" He says, "We'll tell you why when we get there." 8 o'clock the next morning, they walked in, put a slip of paper on the chairman's desk. He opened it up, and he almost had a heart attack right there. It was their the combination to their vault. They were able to break in through everything and give him the combination to their vault, and they didn't have they weren't given any passwords or anything. Well, he said, "We obviously need your services." So that's risk mitigation at its best. So if you've got a product or service that does that, then you're going to get in easily. And the big thing that you want to do is personal wins. And I really spend a lot of time stressing that when I teach my program and when I'm with you. People buy for personal reasons. You can imagine this bank chairman, if it got out that it was easy to get the combination to his vault, that how long his job would last. Okay, it was not just his business, but his own personal value and his net worth, and what people thought of him if it was pretty easy to do that. So you've got to understand all of this. Okay, 5 factors for B2B buying. I don't know why that popped up there, but anyway, okay, there we go. And then the 5 phases of buying. There's 5 phases B2B buyers go through, and I'll just run through them quickly. The customer has to realize he has a problem. That's the first thing he's got to do. He's got a goal, yeah, but he might not have a problem in it. And sometimes we do that with our car, you know. We have to agree we have a problem. Phase 2 is agree that you want to solve the problem. So you may even have the problem, but you may not want to solve it. Sometimes our computers run slowly. We'll see you. You know, it's okay right now. I don't want to pay the money. We got a little rattle in the car. Well, wait a bit. Doesn't seem to be too bad. You know, those kinds of things. So you got to want to solve the problem. And the customer and then they should be done on autopilot, really. They should be done through software, those first 2. Phase 3 is the customer recognizes the value of your particular solution. After you present it, he probably wants to solve the problem, so the customer has then gone to the marketplace and 4 or 5 people and said, show me how to solve it. And then phase 4 is the customer's come to know you, likes you, and trusts you, and so says, okay, you're my supplier now. And then phase 5 is renewal, where you want to sell him or her more stuff, okay? So they're the 5 phases of buying, and we spend time on that. Number 7 is lead generation. There are 5 categories of lead generation that I step you through. Is getting leads, qualifying leads. I have a game plan to do that. Lead scoring, which has become big. Nurturing suspects to prospects, and moving prospect leads to clients, okay? So that's lead generation. You got to go through those 5 categories. Authority helps you sell. Authority can be in the sense that if you're a Microsoft partner, an IBM partner, or a telephone partner, a telco partner, whatever, and you put that on your site that says, hey, I'm one of these, you know, I've attained a certain status. I'm a best-selling author. They're all authorities. McDonald's is a classic authority, selling 1 billion hamburgers, you know. So there's different ways to get authority, but that's important. No matter what company you're in, no matter what you do, you should have a guarantee. Take the responsibility off the buyer and your client. You should guarantee what you're selling. Always. Always guarantee it. Irrespective of what you're selling, I can show you how to guarantee it. If it's a software product, I can show you how to guarantee it. If it's a service, I can show you how to guarantee it. Take that away, and that'll allow you. I always hear people say, I can't compete against IBM. You know, I can't compete against Apple. I can't compete against whoever it is, because they're the big guys on the block. If you give a guarantee, you'll compete against them, and I can show you how to do that. So you need to have a guarantee. You need to have social proof. Social proof really in B2B are case studies and testimonials. You need to have those, but they need to be done right, and they need to, as I mentioned earlier, they need to have numbers to them, and very few people do. You know, Ian does a really good job. I like him. Ian helped me grow my business. But I mean, I could find 1,000 of those in a day on anybody's website. But if I said, Ian helped me triple my customer base in 16 months or 18 months, well, that's something that nobody else has done. Or if they do, they're not telling you that. So you need social proof. Case studies and testimonies are very powerful. You need them on your website. You need to be able to present them to clients. The 9 stages from prospect to client. You have to know these. The contact, you qualify. We talked about that. Then you usually give a demo. Then you qualify from there, in or out. Then if they're in, it's a proposal. If they're out, you got to keep marketing to them. If it's a close, then what are their objections if you're getting there? And then your contract, and then you got to implement. So there's 9 stages. I'm going to walk you through each one of those and the issues and what you have to do to make sure that you step through those. And then there's 15+ methods for acquisition that I use and I work with my clients through, such things as an engaging website. There's 3 to 4 factors, 3 factors in particular you need on your website that most people don't have. Use referrals and references. They're still the best thing you can use. Social media. I'll talk a lot about social media. SEO, we talk about ads. Pay-per-click is important. You need to do that. And such things as webinars, teleseminars, seminars, public speaking, articles, ebooks, trade shows, direct response marketing, user groups, public relations. I go into all of those and show you how important they are for using for getting leads, for customer acquisition, and for running your business, okay? So they're the 12 foolproof methods for a success, or I've got generating leads. That's from an old, I forgot to change that headline, but from an old webinar I did. But anyway, that's what you need to get business in the B2B marketplace, okay? And if you follow those steps and you do them, then you're going to get very good results. Now, this is the best and most lucrative system I've ever seen for building your B2B business. And I've spent 35 plus years in it, in marketing and sales. I've owned 2 businesses. Now I do this. I help customers build their businesses. One business went to 22 million, and or a little over 22 million. That was my first business, and I was lucky enough to sell it. It works. I've learned this from the bottom up, okay? I'm making so many mistakes that you don't want to make. That's how I've done it. I've done it through research. I've done it through, being there, making mistakes. I've done it through interviews and just being with people. I've interviewed, I don't know, hundreds of executives on how do you be successful in selling to other people. I've interviewed from the salesman's point of view, the marketing person's point of view, and also, more importantly, from the customer's point of view and what they want. I ran a CIO network a few years ago and asked them all, what do you want your salespeople? When a guy drops in here, what do you want him to say? How do you want him to ask? What do you want to know from him? We went through all of that. So I've gone through this. I know what to do. It's worked for me. It's worked for clients. This works, those 12 steps. And I want to personally help you implement this if you want to do it. Now, you can do it from all the information I've given you. There's no doubt about that. But I want to help you do it if you want some help with it. Now, there are some problems with this system. If you call them problems, there's issues. It takes time and work to master. As I mentioned earlier, you need to work. You'll make mistakes. And that's what I'm going to do, is help you correct those mistakes before you make too many of them. And most people try shortcuts and end up losing, okay? A lot of people, they'll buy programs. Do you know that less than 5% of people who buy a program or buy a book actually finish it, actually finish the program? 5%. People are selling them all the time. People are buying them at $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. They don't use it. Most people quit too early, as I just mentioned. 95% of businesses fail within the first 5 years. Before a business gets to 5 years, 95% of them fail. They either go out of business, people quit, they don't have enough money, whatever, all kinds of reasons. Anyway, they don't have enough customers. That's the biggest reason. That's what I want you to do. So that's a huge issue. You don't want that to happen to you, and this program will help you with that. So what are the benefits? Just mentioned, help me build a 22 million plus business in about 7 years. I built it up. All of my own resources, my own financing, et cetera. And I needed about $2 million in financing every month to run because it was a consulting business. You get to help people. To me, that's a great benefit. If you don't like helping people, then this isn't a big benefit. But everybody, I think, wants to make a contribution to the world. So you get to help people. It's a proven methodology, and it's been systematized. I've done that, so it works. Will help you realize your stress-free abundance, which we talked about before, which is having enough income to lead the life you want, a stress-free abundance. And you'll get expert help from me. Now, whether you consider that expert help or not is up to you, but I consider myself that I've been around so long and have people I talk to, and I've been told that. So I'm not just bragging about this as if I've been told that. So I know this thing inside out, and I can help you build your business with it. So here's my offer to you. I want to teach you this system. Okay, I love teaching. In fact, I started my business at a university as a teacher. I actually have a phys ed degree and a math minor. I taught phys ed and math for a couple of years. You must be prepared to work. Put in the time. It's going to be about 4 to 6 hours a week. The way I'm going to run it, which isn't a lot of time, but you got to put in about 4 to 6 hours a week. And I'm going to guarantee you results. Remember, I said you got to guarantee. I guarantee your results. Here's what you'll get. You get 6 weeks of us working together. Okay, 4 to 6 hours a week, as I mentioned. I've got 3 to 4 hours a week, but okay, it could be done in 3 to 4, so let's say 3 to 6, somewhere in that range. It's up to about 1 to 2 hours of training each week, and 1 to 2 hours of questions and answers each week. And here's how it works. You have the training on Mondays, okay? I'm going to pre-record training and give it to you on Mondays, and then you'll be able to work towards it, and you're going to get templates, you're going to get blueprints, all the information I've got. And then we'll have questions and answers on Thursdays. I'm going to completely guarantee results that you'll be successful if you do this. And then depending on the number of people in it, we'll set up a mastermind group. You're going to have one-on-one session with me right near the end of this to make sure that you've stepped through it. So we're going to have a group one-on question and answer on Thursdays for the 6 weeks. But after that, we're going to have a one-on-one session with me. If that takes a day or 5 days, whatever it is, I want to make sure that you're going to do this. You're going to get all my swipe files, all my templates, all my blueprints, everything to show you how to do this, okay? So what is the value of this? Well, 6 weeks of training, I say is $9,000 because I charge minimum $1,500 a week, a month to help people train. And I would expect 6 months of training if I'm going to run you through this. So this is really training on steroids. So the training's worth about that $2,000, $9,000. One-on-one consult, I don't care how long it's going to take. I usually get from $1,500 to $2,000 a day. And so maybe it's not quite this much, but the value you're going to get out of it is that. That's the value I want to talk about. Swipe files, campaign blueprints, I put $4,000. It's taken me 35 years to do that, so it's probably worth more like $400,000. But let's say it's, to be very, very, very conservative, $4,000. So your total real value is $15,000 you're going to get out of this. But your investment is not going to be $15,000, obviously. You're not going to pay that. Nor will you pay $5,000, nor will you pay $4,000, okay? A one-time investment of $3,000 for the 6 weeks of training, or 2 monthly payments of $1,600 each. A little bit more for the monthly, but it's worth it. It's worth it. And not only that, here's my guarantee. You'll get a full guarantee. If you don't make at least $3,000 in revenue by applying these methods, I'm going to give you 6 months. I'm not going to say you got to do it in 2 weeks. You know, I'm going to give you 6 months to try and prove this. Then I'll give you a full refund. So you work with this, and you got 6 full months to say, Ian, this didn't work. I tried everything. It didn't work. I'll give you your money back. So that's my full guarantee. As I say, you need to have a guarantee. So if you're interested in doing this, the program is going to begin next Monday, September 24th. It's going to last for 6 weeks. On Monday the 24th and every Monday thereafter for 6 weeks, you're going to have the training session I'm going to give you and all the templates and blueprints, etc. And then on Thursdays, and we've got to work out a time. Probably Mondays I'll just deliver it to you, and you can do it on your own time on Monday or Tuesday. And on Thursdays, probably around this time, noon hour, so we can accommodate anybody in Europe and anybody on the West Coast, because I'm in the Eastern time zone. I live in Toronto, Canada, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, which is in the Eastern time zone of North America. So we'd probably do it at noon on Thursdays, a Q&A, so everybody can get involved. And that's going to be for 6 weeks. If it lasts 30 minutes, that's fine. If it lasts 4 hours, that's fine. We want to answer everybody's question for that week, okay? So how do you enroll? Well, I want you to go here and click on, write this down. This is my business, www.b2bbusinesscoach.com/12 factors. Now, factors has a capital F. There's no space between 12 and factors, so 12factors.html. You must put on the HTML at the end, okay? So if you want to enroll in this program, that's where you go. And I'll send you instructions afterwards. Okay? Are there any questions? Does anybody have any questions that you want to ask? I haven't run one of these for a while, so I'm not sure where all the questions go. But if you have a question, please please put it into the, just type it in, and I will answer it. Okay, I don't see any coming in. I hope you got a lot out of this. I hope you did get some results in advance. If you have any questions, if you want to have, you've got my email address. It's ian@b2bbusinesscoach.com. And if you're interested in taking this, it's well worthwhile. And for $3,000, you can't lose, or if you want to make 2 payments out of it. Most programs are selling for $5,000 or $10,000 for this. As I said, I charge over $9,000 to do it one-on-one with people. So if you're interested in doing this, please write this down, B2B or www.b2bbusinesscoach.com/12factors with a capital F, no space, .html. Go there now and you'll see the buy now buttons that you can use, and you can either pay one-time charge or two monthly installments. Let me know. Thanks very much. If you do have any questions or you think of anything, please write me, Ian@b2bbusinesscoach.com. You can see me on LinkedIn under Ian Dainty, and my email address is there too. Thanks very much for attending, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you on our program. Okay, thanks very much. Have a great day. Take care.